because there's a lot that we have to go over again. In the book of Hosea, chapter 8. Israel to reap the whirlwind. Put the trumpet to your lips. An eagle is over the house of the Lord, because the people have broken my covenant and rebelled against my law. Israel cries out to me, "Oh, our God, we acknowledge you." But Israel has rejected what is good. An enemy will pursue him. They set up kings without my consent. They choose princes without my approval. With their silver and gold, they make idols for themselves to their own destruction. Throw out your calf idol, O Samaria. My anger burns against them. How long will they be incapable of purity? They are from Israel. This calf, a craftsman has made it. It is not God. It will be broken in pieces, that calf of Samaria. They sow the wind and reap the whirlwind. The stalk has no head. It will produce no flower. Were it to yield grain, foreigners would swallow it up. Israel is swallowed up. Now she is among the nations like a worthless thing. For they have gone up to Assyria, like a wild donkey wandering alone. Ephraim has sold herself to lovers. Although they have sold themselves among the nations, I will now gather them together. They will begin to waste away under the oppression of the mighty king. Though Ephraim built many altars for sin offerings, these have become altars for sinning. I wrote for them the many things of my law, but they regarded them as something alien. They offer sacrifices given to me, and they eat the meat, but the Lord is not pleased with them. Now he will remember their wickedness and punish their sins. They will return to Egypt. Israel has forgotten his maker and built palaces. Judah has fortified many towns, but I will send fire upon their cities that will consume their fortresses. So there's a lot here in this chapter. Listen to what Hosea says, because this says a lot. But Israel has rejected what is good. An enemy will pursue him. They set up kings without my consent. They choose princes without my approval. With their silver and gold, they make idols for themselves to their own destruction. So at this time, the people had split off, because after Solomon, one of Solomon's sons, who became in power, go check back in, I want to say First Kings, just did not follow in the footsteps of his father Solomon and sought after the Lord. He sought after his own gain. And so he liked how things were, to the point where the people had came and asked them, all of the tribes of Israel came and asked them to lighten the yoke, lighten the burden of all of the work that they had to do, taxes, work for the Israel itself, work within the nation, and so the one of Solomon's sons pretty much said no to them, and said that he would be even stricter, he would be even harsher. And so that's when the kingdom split up. And so during that time frame, the military king that was in charge of Israel led the people astray. Like, he was told by a prophet that he would end up become king because of what happened with Solomon, and what one of the prophets told him about what will happen. Some of the kingdom will be removed from that line, but not all of it. And so that military king, I can't remember his name right now, but he, again, go back to previous Bible studies. He led the people astray because he created an image of a calf to represent God. So he worshiped God, but he still did something that was against the laws, the commandments. Don't create an idol, don't create an image. And so, but he did so anyways, because he was worried. He was more concerned about keeping the people, keeping that power over the people, instead of them going going ahead and slowly going back to Judah, slowly going back to form one nation. And so since then, so this has now been a couple of generations from that king, that military king. Now that Israel, because of that, they've continued to worship this idol in Samaria that was created out of the materials. And not only that, but they were also worshiping other gods. They were allowing for customs and rituals and religions from other nations to come in. They were jealous sometimes, and part of the reason why some of that was they were already not following the commandments, so they didn't always have, or they didn't have the full protection. They didn't have the protection of the Lord. So from the consequences of not worshiping the Lord, not giving Him praise, and so there will be times that they would get conquered or beat up and lose towns, lose a little bit of territory, lose some people. And because of that, they were like, okay, well, maybe it's because we're worshiping the wrong God, even though there's only one and only. So that's slowly but surely, that's how Israel started to bring in these foreign gods and worship this created calf image of God in Samaria. But they were starting to mix practices and only doing what they wanted to do and not necessarily following all of the laws of the Lord. And that's what Hosea is telling them. He's telling them, you're doing these things. You're with their silver and gold, they make idols for themselves to their own destruction. So they're doing all of these things to themselves, including they set up kings without my consent. They choose princes without my approval. Because it was one after another. The military king came, then he wanted to give it to his offspring, but there was, of course, issues, and ended up being some murders happening because people wanted that power. They wanted that power, that authority. They wanted the image of being a king. They wanted riches. They weren't seeking what's best for the kingdom of the Lord. They were seeking what's best for themselves. So they were constantly doing things to better them, to think that they were bettering themselves, when in fact they were just slowly destroying themselves instead of relying on the Lord. So bringing past to present, is there a lot of that we can take a look in our lives? Absolutely. When we are driven to do things in life, are we looking at it as a direction and a fellowship with the Lord, as our walk with the Lord? Or are we looking at to better ourselves, better our situation, whether economically, whether relationship wise, whether authority and power? What is it that we are looking at, and why? Also, when we do obtain the goal, or when we do obtain authority or economy or a relationship, where does that focus lie? Does the focus lie on the pleasures for ourselves, or does it lie on a significant other or the people? Where does that focus lie? With the Lord can guide us and lead us in the direction that we need to go, that into the Lord's peace. Whereas when we take full control and we don't rely on the Lord, we lead ourselves down to destruction. So before we go on, though, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind when we read over this? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think?